What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nazi with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today I have two of the biggest guests in the Washington football team YouTube community. In Street Scores, right? Rico from Street Scores and Ed from his channel. And I'm glad that you guys are on, man. It's been a long time coming to have both of you guys on the channel, and we have so much to talk about. Usually, I dedicate some time at the end for you guys to like plug your channels and plug all the content that you guys are doing. But I'm going to dedicate that time right now. Let the channel know, let the people know anything that you guys have going, your channels. If they haven't already subscribed, we'll start with Rico.
Okay. Man, Street Scores. You can see it on the screen. STREET space SCORES on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter, Street Scores ATL, as in Atlanta. And I'm just happy to be here, man. These two of my close burgundy and gold YouTubers, so it's great to finally get this trio together.
That's right, Ed.
Yeah, man. You can find me at the real Ed Oliver, Washington football team, not the one from the Bills. The real Ed Oliver. So yeah, it's an honor to be on here, man. I appreciate you for setting this up, man. This is lit. I watch you guys all the time.
Appreciate that.
Same back to you.
Yeah, sure. With that being said, let's get started with the questions. So the first question that I have for both of you guys, obviously, is there was this little presser yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but I was just wondering what your thoughts on the presser that happened yesterday for Martin Mayhew and Marty Hurney, and Ron Rivera was there as well. And what are your thoughts on like the things that they discussed? The trade options that we keep hearing, right? The rumors about us going after Deshaun Watson, or possibly even Derek Carr. Are they still on the table with what you guys heard yesterday? What are your guys' thoughts? And we'll start with Ed.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I mean, they said they don't want to mortgage the future and they want to make a smart move, so that's my little man right there. But I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna say I like the hires, but I don't dislike the hires. I mean, you look at their track record, like they haven't won a lot of games. But then again, Martin Mayhew, he won a Super Bowl here. Marty is from Montgomery County, which is not far from the stadium, with a good counsel, worked for the team. 1991 was a PR writer. Then Bobby Beathard took him to the Chargers. So there's a lot of good history in DC. So I do like that a lot. But yeah, I mean, Martin Mayhew, he said something smart yesterday. They asked him about trades, about the Stafford trade. And he was like, I'm not going to discuss trades. So it's not like the previous regime where they used to play their hand and say, oh, we're going to do this and that, or we're close. They're trying to keep things under wraps and not let things get out. So I can see the culture moving. But it is interesting. We got a GM and then Marty. And we did let Kyle Smith go, which I know a lot of people are not happy with. But all we can do is trust in Ron. Ron is a coach-centric approach. Mm-hmm. And, all we can do is sit back and trust in Ron right now.
There you go.
I echo a lot of the sentiments that Ed Oliver just made, because like it's none of the hires was just like, yes, we got this guy. But so far, Ron Rivera hasn't given us a reason to not give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just gonna assume that these guys, I mean, they preached about how nobody has an ego. They're gonna work collaboratively, but they also bring different ideas and different viewpoints. So I feel like this front office structure should be very advantageous for us. And I'm just like Ed Oliver said, literally just to piggyback on it, we're just gonna have to trust it and just hope that it works out. They haven't given us a reason not to trust them yet, so we'll see. Of course, losing Kyle's our boy Kyle Smith hurt a little bit, but I mean, we're just gonna have to hope that this next regime can repeat the same greatness or even do even better. Because as much as we love Kyle Smith, we're getting Cameron Curl in the 7th and Chase Roullier in the 6th, and Tim Settle in the 5th, Terry McLaurin, and Tony Gibson in the 3rd. He's also Jerron Christian. He's also Sean Dion Hamilton, Troy Apke. So, he wasn't perfect, and I'm not just going to assume that he was the best of the best doing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily saying he's replaceable, but I'm also not just going to assume he's the best and we just lost the Sean McVay of GMs type of thing. And but also a big thing at the press conference for me, that it was like a lot of a little. They used a lot of words to basically say the same few things, and I feel like a lot of the things they said were smoke screens. I feel like we're not gonna force ourselves to get a quarterback this year. We're willing to wait next year. Is basically just to not show their hand again, like what Ed Oliver said. They're just basically putting up a front. And I think behind the scenes, they're doing whatever they can to get a quarterback. But I think out loud, they're going to say they're willing to be patient so that other GMs don't use that against us, basically.
Yeah, one thing I can tell is that Alex is not coming back. They don't want Alex.
You saw Ron Rivera's response to being asked about it. He was like, so I forgot who the reporter was, but the reporter asked, what are Alex Smith's chances of remaining in the Washington football team? He was like, well, there are chances, right? There's a chance. But yeah, I agree with that, man. There's chances are slim at this point. I agree with you guys. Thought the presser was, I mean, it was your standard presser for two guys who are being hired into an NFL organization. Wasn't too splashy. I will say, though, on Rico's point about the smokescreen, after hearing the presser at first, I did not think it was too much of a smokescreen in terms of them not, really wanting to go after Deshaun Watson or maybe some big names, give up a lot of draft picks. They kept noting that they do not want to give up draft picks. But then I started thinking about it some more, started watching your guys' videos, started watching some other content, reading some other sources and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it does seem like it is somewhat of a smokescreen. Very smart move on their part. And hopefully they go after and get their quarterback for the future. We waited too freaking long to get a quarterback here in DC. We thought we had one. Some of us thought we had one in Kirk Cousins, but that didn't turn out well. And Dwayne Haskins, obviously, that was an abomination of an experiment here in DC. But hopefully they can make the right moves and build some good infrastructure there in the front office. But moving on from the presser yesterday, what are you guys' I'm going to go back to the weekend and the big trade that went down. What are you guys' final thoughts on the big Rams-Lions trade that went down? And do you think that Washington missing out on Stafford is a big whiff? Or did him just wanting to go to LA really make the difference?
I like Stafford. I was on board for it, just depending on what we were going to give up. I definitely wouldn't give up 3 firsts, what the Rams gave. They gave up 3 firsts, right? And then a third and then golf. So, I mean, that was way, way too much. Yeah. But, I mean, I heard a first and a third, and I wouldn't have been mad at that. I know a lot of people was like, oh, this is Donovan McNabb 2.0. But Stafford, I think he's still like he's got at least good 4 good solid to good years left in his career. I think we definitely would have ran the NFC East if we got Stafford. But a first, because we have 2 third-round picks, so I wasn't really like mad at giving up a first and a third. But I think missing out on Stafford, it's not the end of the world. I think we can still find somebody.
Yeah. I'm pretty close to Ed because I mean you already know, man, how I am with my Georgia Bulldogs. I wanted them just off of that, but I wasn't willing to go as far as the Rams were at all, just like Ed said. I mean, that was crazy. But also the Lions had to pay for Goff's contract. So that's where like an extra pick came from. It was like, if we're going to eat this contract for an average quarterback, even though they said they're higher on him than most people are, so they don't necessarily believe he's average. But if they're going to eat this crazy contract where he's like the top 8 highest paid quarterback, they're like, we need another first round pick. So they weren't even asking for that from us. But yeah, apparently we offered a first and a third. And I mean, as much as I love Matthew Stafford, I didn't want to give up a first for him. But like Ed also said, with Matthew Stafford, we would be running the NFC East easily. Now we can, talk about Super Bowl. We could talk about Matthew Stafford's ceiling. I believe it may be like 11 wins a season, maybe a playoff winner here, playoff winner 2 here. But I'm not exactly sure with how our roster is currently constructed. We were Super Bowl contenders with Matthew Stafford. We're definitely a strong team. We win the NFC East, but I'm not sure if we make it all of the way. Unless, we hit in the draft, we hit in free agency. You get him pieces. He's definitely a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl because if Jimmy G can take you there, Matthew Stafford can win you a Super Bowl. But you're going to have to construct your team to be as good, if not better, than what the 49ers were last season to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I think we weren't just a quarterback away from being, legit Super Bowl contenders. I think we needed to add some more weapons on that offense, add another receiver. Could have done it, but I think I like that Washington, we gave up a first round, third round pick, in a potential trade, and that was pretty much our ceiling, right? We did not want to give up anything more, which I like because like Ed said, like Rico said, like 2 first round picks and a third round pick, that's pretty pricey for a guy in Matt Stafford, who I know we all know he has talent, but he hasn't really made the playoffs, or at least made a run in the playoffs consistently year in and year out. So definitely agree that wasn't really too big of a whiff. Although I will say, though, the Rams are going to be nice next year. I really believe that. Like, you got a defense that is top-notch, like the one that they have right now. Have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, obviously. Have offensive playmakers all over. Have some good young running backs. So we shall see if Matt Stafford really brings a Super Bowl to LA. But with our team, though, we did ultimately miss out on Stafford, obviously. But now, potentially we have our sights on some other quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr. I was wondering if you guys think we have a legit chance of getting either one of them, or potentially what are your ideal spots for Watson, especially right now?
He said he wants to go to the Jets. They got a lot of picks. The Dolphins got a lot of picks, but the Dolphins say they want to keep Tua. So I don't know if that's the right decision for them. But we're on the list too. The Raiders are trying to finesse us and get 2 firsts for Derek Carr on a 3-way trade. That's the hypothetical rumor going on right now. But the only place I can really see Watson realistically going is here. If we're really willing to give up one of our front 4 guys, I'm not giving up Chase Young, I'm not giving up Montez. So it's probably the Jets, because they got so many picks, and they can give him Darnold too. So it's probably the Jets.
And again, Ed Oliver just keep hitting truths. To piggyback basically off of what he said, we also have to remember that it was a report that came out, don't know how true it was, that if the Texans do end up trading Deshaun Watson, they prefer to trade him to the NFC, so they don't have to, go through him to make it to the playoffs and then make it to a Super Bowl. So we're definitely one of the more likely destinations, just off of how our team is set up. It's basically based on how much we're willing to give up. And I feel like that price is pretty dangerous, mostly because we have the 19th pick. If we had a higher pick, maybe like if you lose to the Eagles, don't win the division, you have the 11th pick or higher, then maybe it's a little bit easier. With the 19th pick, that's where it's in the realm of not necessarily impossible, but we're going to have to, sell the team. I think it would be even more than one player. You may have to include, we want Landon Collins gone, but he costs too much money. I don't think anybody wants him for as much as he costs. But I think you have to give up potentially like a Matt Ioannidis, maybe somebody else, and all of those first round picks. And I love Deshaun Watson, and I think literally how our roster is constructed right now, before the draft, before free agency, Deshaun Watson is good enough to make you Super Bowl contenders today. Unlike Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, with how our team is currently constructed, we need other pieces. Deshaun Watson makes us Super Bowl contenders, but what you have to give away to get them, you're no longer Super Bowl contenders. You're giving away some of your great defensive players, potentially an offensive player, and then your first round picks for like the next 4 years are gone, so it's hard to build around them. So again, it's one of those moves where we'll be very relevant, but I'm not sure if it's enough to take us to win a Super Bowl.
Okay. I will ask you this, guys, like in terms of the top choice for Deshaun Watson right now, like in terms of the team, being, I guess, like a suitable trade partner for the Texans, and also, being an ideal spot for Deshaun Watson. Do you guys think potentially like the Dolphins could be that top team at this point? I know we keep hearing the connections, but from your eyes, outsider point of view, do you guys think that would be the best fit, if not potentially here in Washington?
The Dolphins, probably the Dolphins. They have the best defense out of all the teams, other than us. Like, they have a better defense than the Jets. The Bears, they might try to get Deshaun, but I don't think they have enough assets to really get Deshaun Watson. They're desperate for a quarterback. But yeah, best case scenario probably would be either us or the Dolphins.
I agree. Just like Ed said earlier, the Dolphins apparently don't want to give away Tua. You want Deshaun Watson and Tua, so I don't know how that trade will work. I don't know why they're so bent on Tua. We saw the Cardinals draft Josh Rosen in the first round and move on from him the very next year, and everything worked out very well. And you're getting an automatic, unlike a Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, we didn't know. Between baseball and his height, we didn't know if he would actually work out. Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So I'm not exactly sure why they want to keep Tua. But yeah, I agree. Us or the Dolphins. And then, of course, the Jets, just because of where they're picking. and the Texans will be able to turn around and immediately get a franchise quarterback of their dreams in replacement. Oh well, I'm with the Jets pick. The Texans would be able to. So I think those are the top three: Jets, Dolphins, and us. Realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ed brought up even a good point about the Bears as well. I mean, he's been hitting home runs all night with these points, but with the Bears point though, I mean, like again, like I'm surrounded by people who are Bears fans and stuff, and like I don't think a lot of people realize the cap situation that they're in right now. They have no cap money. They can't even re-sign a guy like Allen Robinson, let alone go after Deshaun Watson, who is commanding $40 million on his contract per year. I mean, I just don't see it happening. So I definitely agree with you guys. It's probably going to be either the Dolphins or Washington. Potentially could be the 49ers. I know Rico brought up the whole like Garoppolo point, right? Like if you're getting to the Super Bowl with the Garoppolo, like it's pretty automatic in terms of winning the Super Bowl if you have Watson back there. But those would be good fits. Yeah, I mean,
because remember how Watson had the Chiefs down that playoff game? They were up on them like over 20-something points, and it was just it wasn't like the Deshaun Watson started playing bad. It's just the Chiefs were just a better team. The Texans have not been that great. Deshaun Watson has been carrying them for the past couple of years just by himself anyway. And I mean, once the Chiefs finally realized, wait, we're better than them, they finally decided to come back. And I feel like our team compares to the Chiefs, we're just missing the quarterback. I feel like we have a better defense than them overall. I feel like just add a quarterback, we can literally be the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
maybe throwing Kadarius Toney in there, man. You know, might have to throw him.
I mean, there's a lot of talented receivers in this draft. Toney's one of them.
Lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. Before we're getting though into that, in terms of some other needs that we'll probably have to address, I will say this, you know, and I know you guys know this. I know everybody in the chat knows this, but just to reiterate, the time to win is now. We have so many players on rookie contracts, on inexpensive deals, and we need to take advantage of that, man. We've seen so many teams throughout the NFL take advantage of that. The Rams did before they had to give up so much money for all their players, and some other teams as well. So hopefully we can make a big move at quarterback and really give us fans something positive at the position that we haven't had for a while. But if not Watson, what other quarterbacks do you think Washington will look out for in free agency, via trade, as well? And do you think there is any truth to the rumors that I know Rico put out a video yesterday that I did see, but that Washington is very much interested in Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields at this point? Do you think potentially they could just go with their guys right now and Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen and just re-sign them? Maybe go with another stopgap guy like I believe A.M. Hunter brought up earlier in the chat. What are your guys' thoughts if we do ultimately whiff on Watson as well?
Before I go, I'll shout out a couple of people, man. A.M. Hunter, King, Sean, Patrick, Wes, Burgundy and Gold fan all day. ProTech, I see you. What's up, man? Jared Sports, Ali Zaldi, I see you guys. What's going on? But if we don't get Watson, which I personally don't think is going to happen, it's tough, man. Last week when I was hearing Derek Carr over and over and over again, I was like, okay, we're probably going to go for Derek Carr because of Jack Del Rio, because they have the connection right there. And Derek, I think Derek Carr gets a lot of unfair hate. Also in sports, what's going on? I think it's a lot of unfair hate. Now, it's just the price tag. What are we willing to give up for him, and what are they asking? If they're asking for 2 firsts, then yeah, it's a done deal. That's it. Rico, I did watch your video on Justin Fields. It was really good. Justin Fields. One thing I will say about Justin Fields: don't scout the helmet, scout the player, because there's been so many Ohio State quarterbacks. Everybody's just down on them. You know, the guy we had in the first round. Terrell Pryor. I mean, the list goes on and on about Ohio State quarterbacks. We all had Troy Smith. I mean, we all get the story. So Justin Fields gets a bad rep. I mean, you got to look at the guy. He threw 6 touchdowns against Clemson, right? In a huge game. I mean, the guy did a crackback hit on Justin Fields, and he stayed in the game and still played well. So I mean, you gotta give him his credit. But to trade up and get him, I mean, I was looking at some mock drafts. I don't know if he's getting past the Falcons at 4. I really don't know if he is. I mean, a lot of mock drafts have the Jets getting him. So we're kind of in a tough spot at 19. Like if you trade up to 7, I don't know if it's going to be enough. 7 would be enough to get Trey Lance, but it's not going to be enough to get Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and those guys. So we are in a tough spot. Mac Jones, I don't know because he can't really move. So we are in a tough spot. But I mean Heineke. I mean a lot of people like Heineke. So it's not ideal for him to start. But if Ron really trusts him and say we do get some weapons like you said, Allen Robinson or Corey Davis or somebody like that, Curtis Samuel, and then we draft another stud wide receiver, then the offense isn't as bad as people would think. I'll just say that.
There you go.
Again, to piggyback off of Ed's sentiments is that like definitely don't scout the helmet, scout the player, because I mean if you think about it, name a great Clemson quarterback before Deshaun Watson, name a great Texas Tech quarterback before Pat Mahomes. Oregon has not been putting out good quarterback talent. I mean, some people like Mariota. I didn't even like Mariota coming out of that draft. I didn't like the Jameis Winston Mariota draft at all. I didn't think either of them were worthy first and second overall picks. And I mean, until Justin Herbert, Oregon wasn't really putting out great quarterback talent. So, I mean, I understand Ohio State does have an offense that doesn't prepare quarterbacks for the NFL level as well as like maybe like an Oklahoma program and things like that, or Alabama, things like that. So I understand that. But at the end of the day, there's always somebody that breaks the stigma of a school when it comes to services, not just quarterback. And I feel like just based off of film, what I've seen from Justin Fields, I think he'll end up being a really good quarterback. And as far as like transitioning from Ohio State to NFL, shouts out to Tan Todd podcast. They put like a little Twitter thread on like a film breakdown showing exact plays Justin Fields ran at Ohio State that we ran with Dwayne Haskins and other guys in Washington last season. I mean, literally like the same offense, very parallel, can easy transition to go from one to the next. But yeah, this quarterback position is very complicated because Derek Carr, I do feel like he receives more hate than he deserves, just like y'all said. But 2 firsts is ridiculous. I'm not giving up 2 firsts for Derek Carr. That's absolutely out of the question. And then like y'all said, quarterbacks all 4 of them might be gone before like top 10. I mean, quite likely, maybe even top 7. So you might have to trade up further than that to get your guy. Because I feel like whoever they have their sights on, they're gonna love them and almost be willing to give up anything for them. So if they just love Wilson more than Lawrence, Fields, or Lance, they're gonna do whatever it takes to get Wilson specifically, and they'll probably have to trade up even more value to get that high. And that's where having that 19th pick comes on, because it's really hurting us in the back end. But I think Trey Lance later. In my opinion, Trevor Lawrence is the safest. Trey Lance is has the most God-given talent, the most talented, but also, he's not the safest at all. Out of the top 4, he has I would say the lowest floor. Like, I mean, if he doesn't work on certain things like being able to read defenses and his pocket mechanics and things like that, he could end up, not being as great as I think he will be. But at the end of the day, I feel like all 4 of those guys, if we take one of them, whoever Scott Turner wants, whoever Rivera wants, they're going to do everything they can to develop that guy. So at the end of the day, it's out of my hands. I love Lance, but if for some reason they just love Jamie Newman, go get him and do whatever it takes to make him successful.
Okay. I want to first touch on Ed's point from earlier, the Derek Carr point. My gosh, this guy gets so much hate. I don't know why. I mean, he just consistently puts up good numbers. This year, he put up over 4,000 yards. I believe it was like 27 touchdowns, 9 picks. And I know he had some dud games, but like, yeah, I mean, like he's a legit top 10, 12-ish sort of quarterback, which, I mean, if you have a great defense like we have, you have playmakers like we have, that could really put us over the top, especially with the cap room that we have, right? Also, I believe he's making the same amount of money as Alex Smith. So if you cut Alex Smith, just, replace him with Derek Carr, then you have some money to spend elsewhere and some draft picks as well. But yeah, 2 first-round picks, we can't do that. We can't do that. It's too high. I will say, though, in terms of the draft, I know Rico knows this. Ed, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a huge Zach Wilson fan. I think this guy's going to be a stud in the NFL. I don't think we'll be able to get him unless obviously we trade up and stuff, but I'm a huge fan of him. But Justin Fields is also a really good weapon, really good quarterback that a lot of people are sleeping on because of the fact that he does play for Ohio State. They haven't had a good track record of producing some good quarterbacks. Obviously, we just saw what happened with Dwayne Haskins, but Fields is a different animal, man. He's a different talent. He's a different sort of beast, and I would be thrilled to have him here. I will say, though, if we do stay at our 19th slot, yeah, we're probably going to have to be stuck with Mac Jones or Kyle Trask, which I absolutely do not want after his abysmal playoff performance.
Receiver or linebacker, and stick with Taylor Heineke over that.
Exactly. Yeah. But definitely agree with you guys' points. I do, before Ed, I know you have to go, but I do want to get to something.
I'm good right now.
All right. I do want to take a little intermission from our Washington football talk, and I do want to get to something that Ed and I have been debating about, and I know Rico will have some thoughts on this as well. And that has to do with the best player in the NBA conversation. And we've been having this conversation since the summer, really, since the bubble was in place. And especially now with KD being back, and KD is from the DMV, so very pertinent. But I was just wondering, who do you guys think is the best player in the NBA right now? And give me, I have my guy, and I know Ed has his guy, but let's battle it out. Let's debate it right now. Whoever wants to go first.
I think right now, I mean, it's Kevin Durant. I mean, you look, there's some things that LeBron can't do that Kevin Durant does. LeBron's not pulling up from the three like Kevin Durant. He can't dribble like Kevin Durant. He can't make moves like Kevin Durant. LeBron, he's just stronger and bigger than everybody else. I mean, he's good. I mean, I see him fighting the lady on the sideline and whatnot. Okay, but
Karen?
The courtside Karen, but Kevin Durant, his dribble pull, his hezzy moves, he dribbles the ball like a point guard. And I don't see LeBron making moves like that. LeBron is cool and all, but when you want to get a bucket, you put Kevin Durant out there.
Okay. Rico?
I don't even like Kevin Durant because I'm a Wizards fan.
Yeah. Is he ever gonna play for the Wizards? Like, is that that ship has just sailed? Like, is that gonna ever be a reality? I mean,
maybe later after he's done got his rings and is like, let me do it for the city real quick.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. That would be a good, feel good story. I would appreciate that. But as far as best player, that's really difficult. I feel like KD, if it weren't for the Achilles, I would probably slide to him. But again, I don't watch a lot of basketball, but from the games I've watched with the Nets, he's not playing defense as well as he normally would. Like he's still overpowered on offense. It just seems like his Achilles hasn't even affected him on offense. I mean, I don't know what's going on with new technology, but normally when people have Achilles tears, they don't come back and look how KD is looking right now or how John Wall is looking after his injury. I don't know. I guess it's updated medical. I don't know. So he looks like the best scorer in the NBA already, but it seems like to avoid re-injuring his Achilles or overcompensating, it seems like he's kind of taking breaks on defense a little bit. So I feel like when he's fully powered, maybe he's better than LeBron, but I feel like as of right now, I would just have to say LeBron just off of everything he does. He's the smartest player in the NBA. Yeah. He's still balling. Now, he's not a consistent three-point shooter, but this logo LeBron thing is fun to watch, though. When he just randomly decides to pull up from 5 steps behind the three-point line with 20 seconds left on the shot clock, not even trying to develop a real play, and he tends to make it. So, with age, NBA, you have to become a better shooter. I guess he already knew that ahead of time. He's like, let me go ahead and make sure I work. Now his free throws are still bad. KD is going to have LeBron on free throws by far. I think that's just going to be forever.
In general,
shooting, period. But the free throw is like a way bigger gap. I mean, it's like 90% to LeBron shooting like in the 60s or something. But I'm gonna still have to go LeBron just off of he's 100% LeBron right now. KD is not 100% KD. Now we can revisit this after KD's 100% KD. But right now I have to give it to LeBron right now.
Okay. You heard that, right, Ed? You heard that, the LeBron. I will say this. I know.
I don't watch that much basketball. So
I know.
I watch Ant games because that's I watch Colin Sexton and
Ant,
baller
right now.
Atlanta boys. Yeah.
I will say this before. Hopefully we can agree with this, but stop it. Curry, I'm sorry. I know Curry is an elite talent. I know he's a very good player, and he's leading the Warriors to be a fringe playoff contender in the West right now. But it's between LeBron and KD right now. And Ed, you know who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with LeBron James. I think the fact that he's averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 49% from the field goal. For field goals, and also 41% from three. 41% from three. A lot of people don't know that.
Last year, Luka was
this is better than last year. Yeah. His efficiency is through the roof still. I know his free throws. Everybody talks about it. I even talk about it. But I mean, he's hitting near his average, career average, about like 72 to 75%, which for him is a good thing, right? Obviously, KD is a much better free throw shooter. We all know that, but I just think, we need to see KD lead a team to a championship without having to join a 73-9 record-breaking team before I even crown him to be the best player in the world. I'm sorry. I have to see more. I know he's from the DMV. I still root for him, less so when he was on the Warriors, more so now when he's on the Nets. But I just think LeBron. And again, I know Ed might be thinking this is not a legacy sort of thing that I'm saying right now. I just think LeBron is still the best player in the world until KD eventually overtakes him, with age and with more years of experience with that Nets team. But I think LeBron James, man, he's the king. Is there really much more to say about it? And I'm not just saying this, again, Ed might think this. I'm not a fanboy or anything. I'm not like, oh my gosh, LeBron is amazing. He's the best human I've ever seen in my life. No, I'm not like that. I respect this man. I know you do too, Ed. But I have to say he is currently the best player in the world. And KD's balling. He's balling. Rico talked about this. I don't know how he's recovered so nicely from the Achilles injury and all the injuries he had even before that.
What is that?
But LeBron is it, man. You got anything to say, Ed, after that?
Yeah, I just don't think LeBron can even think about dribbling like Kevin Durant or even shooting from three like Kevin Durant. He can't even.
What about winning? What about winning chips?
He has what, 2 rings now, right? So I mean, he's on his way. I mean,
73-9. Okay.
He has 2, and with LeBron has 4 now, right? So so he has a bubble ring. Okay, I'll let him have that. But KD's on his way.
Mickey Rouse ring.
LeBron, he has the better career so far. KD can get there. He can definitely get. He just got to.
I'm not saying he can't.
Yeah, he can get there. Now, yes, the Warriors championships. Those are asterisks because you had Curry, you had Draymond, you had Clay, and all those guys. So it is unfair. And you had Iggy, Sean. You had a hell of a team. But skill wise, talent wise, Kevin Durant is just more talented. He can score more. He can just shoot better. He's just more of he's just a better talented scorer than LeBron. LeBron's more strength. I'm gonna move you out my way. Kevin Durant, he's gonna cross you over, step back, make somebody fall, and shoot a 3, and he'll dunk on you too. So
I will say this though, a lot of people even say like LeBron James's titles, not a lot, but some people say LeBron James's titles with the Heat are like asterisks too because he joined a big 3 and stuff. I will say this. If KD wins a championship this year, it'll be much like what LeBron did with the Heat, and I won't consider it an asterisk or anything, but I'm sorry. What KD did, he basically was up 3-1 against the Warriors, and it was him and obviously Russell Westbrook as well that collapsed and gave up that 3-1 lead. And then for KD to join a 73-9 team
that
and win championships with that beat, I mean,
I'm sorry. I just ain't built like that. I'm not the Damian Lillard before I do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I guess, a lot of people in the chat are chiming in. Some people are saying KD, so some people are agreeing with Ed. I see it. A lot more people are saying LeBron. I see that as well. But I do stop. See, like these kind of come on. Curry. Sorry. There's just something like no. Again, it's a LeBron versus KD conversation at this point. But I do want to return to football, which is the main reason why a lot of people are in this chat right now. A lot of people are joining. I do want to ask you before we're going back to Washington, who do you think will win the Super Bowl? I mean, it's going to be a great matchup. You got the GOAT versus the baby GOAT, as some people are saying. Who do you think will win and will hoist the Lombardi Trophy come Sunday evening?
Well, we all know Tom has the refs on his side. We saw what happened to us, so it's tough. I mean, you got Tom Brady out there giving high fives to the referee.
Yeah.
You know, the Chiefs can't even get a haircut now. So I mean, it's tough out there. But, I mean, it's hard to bet against any guy. I mean, this is going to be a really good chance. Like, both quarterbacks are elite quarterbacks. It's not like Pat Mahomes versus Jimmy G or anything like that. This is like two really, really good quarterbacks. So it's a tough one, man. I don't even know. This really is a toss-up, man. I hope it goes to overtime because Buffalo Wild Wings, they said they're giving away free wings if it goes to overtime. So, you know, but I'm gonna just go with Patty Mahomes. It's hard to bet against Tom Brady, but when Pat Mahomes gets hot, man, it's Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins is supposed to be coming back. Like McCole Hardman, Kelsey. I already said Kelsey, but I gotta say him again because he's so good. So it's just like that's
McCole Hardman. I had to throw that in there.
Oh yeah, Georgia. I see you, McCole Hardman. I mean, it's just nasty. I mean, Le'Veon Bell's playing, right? So I mean, and what's his name, Edwards-Helaire, or however you say his name. That offense is just stupid good. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
I pretty much echo the same things because like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is crazy. I mean, they have Levante David, who I'm willing to throw the bag at in free agency, one of the most underrated linebackers in NFL history. Literally, if it weren't for Tom Brady in this Buccaneers season, this 2020 season, he may have had a very similar career to London Fletcher, where he has all of the stats, but people just don't recognize him because his team didn't win a lot of games. The teams he won just didn't win games. So it's good to see him finally get the recognition he deserves. Like, because some people think he's just turned great this year, but he's always been great. So I really hope we can go snatch him up from the Buccaneers. That's just my 1-2 on that. But yeah, the Buccaneers defense is crazy. And I think they're a better team up and down. Like if you're looking like at a Madden rating, they would have a higher overall. But Pat Mahomes is just magic. And it's really hard to bet against somebody like that. Because even against the 49ers last year, he was bad for the first 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, he just got in his bag. And there was not much, arguably the best defense in the NFL that season could do to stop him. It was just nothing with the speed of Tyreek Hill, with the versatility of Travis Kelce, just like Ed spoke about. Now they added more weapons with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Sammy Watkins is healthy. It's just, what do you stop exactly? And I feel like it's going to more so come to Pat Mahomes, whether he feels like being great, whether he doesn't. And it's just going to be who out-coaches each other. I feel like it's between Andy Reid and Bruce Arians who's going to have the better coaching day, who's going to win. I'm a side with the Chiefs. Again, I just can't bet. I mean, I know Tom Brady has shown us over and over again, don't bet against them. Almost in his mid-40s, I didn't think he would be this. I mean, make it to the Super Bowl. I thought this was just going to be just something that blows up and the Buccaneers regret. But he played better than I thought he would. So I mean, he always proves us wrong every step of the way. But I think Pat Mahomes is just too different. I'm gonna have to just go Chiefs. It's really hard though. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be, even with how great their defenses are, I think it's gonna be some sort of a shootout. Just off of the fact that both of their wide receiver cores are crazy. I mean, the fact that Antonio Gibson is basically like a third option is just insane. Or in the Buccaneers. So I think it's going to be somewhat of a shootout. No. And I'm a slide to the Chiefs, even though I'm not confident on it. Like I wouldn't put my life savings on anybody in this. Yeah. I can't.
I mean, you guys hit the nail on its head in terms of this matchup being very hard to predict. I mean, it should be really good, back and forth matchup. Might, even take us to the fourth quarter, the end of the fourth quarter, and maybe a game-winning drive by one of the quarterbacks. I guess I'm going to have to disagree with you guys. I'm going to go with this team right here, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Sadly, right, because I don't think any of us want to see Brady win another Super Bowl. I think we're tired of that. Hopefully he retires soon. So then, some young bucks like Patrick Mahomes could take over the league completely without Brady in their shadow. But you guys said you can't count out Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, I can't count out Tom Brady. I really can't. Early in the season, we saw some hiccups. We saw him turning the ball over, making some uncharacteristic plays. But as the season has gotten along, as he's, meshed with his weapons on offense, he's gotten much better. I mean, he had a crazy year, age 42, 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 picks. I mean, he had a great regular season, and then in the playoffs, he wasn't spectacular against Washington, but did enough, to ultimately lead the Bucs to the win. And then, the last couple of weeks also hasn't been too spectacular, but when it comes to Super Bowls, this man just wins. He just wins no matter who he has. And then when you add in the fact that the Bucs have so many weapons on offense, I know the Chiefs do too, but the Bucs have so many young weapons on offense. And then something that is not talked about enough, the Chiefs actually have both of their tackles out for this game with injuries, both of their starting tackles. And I think when you have Jason Pierre-Paul, when you have Shaquille Barrett, when you have Devin White, 9 sacks on the season, I mean, I think the Bucs defense is going to feast on that Chiefs offensive line. If not get a bunch of sacks, maybe, force Patrick Mahomes into some uncharacteristic mistakes, maybe a couple picks, maybe have somewhat of a performance that he had last Super Bowl, right, against in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. So we'll see. I just think the Bucs defense is a little bit better than the Chiefs defense, and I think that'll be the difference in this game. And I'm going to go with the Bucs in a pretty high scoring game though. But again, I see the people in the chat. I mean, Tony, he's agreeing with you guys, man. Patrick Mahomes, I get it. He's a different breed, man. He's really good, really good. Brady, none of us want him to win a 7th Super Bowl. We're tired of it. We are. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think Brady might ultimately capture that 7th Super Bowl ring. I see, again, other people in the chat shouting out Awesomeness Sports. Who else? AM Hunter, Son Moore, Extra Squad, Deuce Alert, London Fletcher. I brought that up earlier. Or I brought the comment up earlier. Super underrated. I know Rico talked about it. He is. But I do, again, want to move on to the Washington football team, the Washington Football Weekly. And if not, the quarterback position, which we already discussed earlier, what are some other guys do you want us to go after at some other positions of need? I know Rico mentioned Chris Godwin as someone who should go after, and some other pieces as well, Levante David on defense. What are some guys that you guys think we should go after in the offseason?
Yeah, before I go, what's up, Pedro? I see you, man. Awesomeness Sports. I saw more what's going on. DRG, what's up, man? But I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me, but Mr. Corvette. I wouldn't mind taking a look at Juju, but that's if we miss on Allen Robinson. That's not my first option. Of course, first you want to go after Allen. You want to swing for the best player, maybe even Kenny Galladay or Chris Godwin, like you said, Rico. So you do want to swing for those guys first. But after if we do miss on that first tier, those top 3, then of course Curtis Samuel. We might as well just give him a jersey right now because he's probably going to get signed. I mean, he's probably going to get signed on the first day. I'd say somebody was saying like a 3-year, $21 million deal, or maybe $8 million a year. I would be fine with that. That would actually be a good deal for Curtis.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But all the other receivers not named Godwin, Galladay, or Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, or Juju. I would consider Juju. I really would. I know a lot of people are like, no, they don't want to do the TikTok and all that stuff. But you got to consider Juju. I mean, he's a solid receiver, and he's better when he's a number. When he was playing with Antonio Brown, when he was the number 2 guy, not the number 1 guy, that was probably his best. His rookie year was probably his best year. So when he's the number 2 receiver and not the number 1 guy, that's when Juju's really good. But like I said, Curtis Samuel was probably going to be signed anyway. So, but those are the guys I would target.
There you go.
And that's funny. Like, it's just already go ahead and just sign up Corey Davis. We already know. I mean, Curtis Samuel, and then we'll talk about everything else after that. We already know Curtis Samuel's already on the roster. It's just hasn't been written down
Panther. Yet.
Yeah. But the Juju Smith-Schuster thing is very interesting because I mean he is fairly talented. I feel like with Ron Rivera, maybe he wouldn't be involved with such shenanigans. But of course, like I mean, Ed already hit all of the receivers that mattered. My focus are on Levante David. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've talked about this several times. It's hard to go get an elite free safety and pay him big money when you're already paying Landon Collins all of that money, and to have like $30 million a year wrapped up in just in the safety position alone is not smart. But man, if we can find a way to get Landon Collins off the roster or some way, and we can use that exact same cap space to get an Anthony Harris or Justin Simmons, our defense would be elite. Because Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller are good corners, but they get beat deep. They're not athletic. Their backpedal game just isn't that great. It's just hard. They're really smart, and they have great bursts to get into the ball as long as it's in front of them. But getting beat deep is their biggest weakness. When you have like a Justin Simmons or Anthony Harris, quarterbacks won't even dare to throw it over their heads a lot of the times. I mean, if you watch Vikings and Broncos games, quarterbacks are afraid to even try to throw it deep a lot of the time, just how rangy those guys are. But, of course, my number one free agent, period, regardless of position, other than quarterback, of course, is Levante David. I say we have to do whatever we have to do to get him. Because Cole Holcomb, I think, is a really good linebacker. He has things to work on as far as like his gap responsibilities and his decision making and things like that. And he needs to improve in pass. He improved a little bit this past season from the first year, but he definitely still has more to go. And then Kevin Pierre-Louis is solid, decent, like somebody to groom to get better and better. To bring in a Levante David to make our line, to basically bring what we hoped what we got with Reuben Foster would make our defense elite immediately. So Levante David is my big, like, pay him whatever he asks for. I mean, according to Spot Track, he's only going to possibly go for $15 million a year. And I'll do that in a heartbeat, please. I'll take it.
Yeah, Levante's good. I did forget Marvin. Pedro said Marvin Jones Jr. He is a little older, but he wouldn't be bad, like I said, $8 million a year. And then I don't know if you guys saw the Twitter source. Some guy was like, "Oh, we're zeroed in on Hunter Henry." I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't have a blue check, but it was some guy. He writes for Hogs Haven, so I don't know how true that is. I'm not really, because remember last year we were all set on Austin Hooper. I don't think tight end is like that big of a need because you got
not me.
Oh, you think tight end?
Wait. No, I'm saying not me as Austin Hooper. I was like, no, I'm good.
I mean, yeah, it's like Ron. Ron said he was going to Austin too. So I mean,
yeah,
I don't blame you. So
Logan Thomas had a bigger year. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
So I mean, tight end's not that big of a need in my opinion.
Yeah, to go all out for Hunter Henry, that's the key word. Like, like you're going to be willing to spend that much money when we already have a tight end one. I mean, it would be great to have two tight end ones, but the way cap space works, the way teams work, you need to make sure you're great everywhere and not just really good in one spot and bad in another.
Yeah. And if they want to improve the tight end position, I would much rather, go after maybe Kyle Pitts or like a tight end in draft at least instead of, dishing out that money like you guys said. Yeah. But for me, I agree with you guys. My top free agent, though, would probably be I do like Levante David a lot, although, he is getting a little bit up there in age. But I agree with Rico. Now is officially, the first time that, nationally a lot of people realize how much of an impact Levante David has on that defense, how much he, really shifts that defense into being, the top-notch defense that it is right now. I will say, though, I'm not just saying this because I'm in Chicago, but Allen Robinson is probably my first option overall. I think, he's dope. He just consistently produces, no matter the quarterback, gives you a lot of Terry McLaurin vibes in that aspect. He doesn't have the greatest of speed, but is a very good route runner, has great size, which I think we're pretty much missing at this point in the receiving core. We have the speed and route running in Terry, but we need the size and route running as well. But I think Allen Robinson would be a great fit here. I like Juju, though. Juju's a very great pickup. Ed is, again, with these takes, so good. But Juju is a good guy that we could potentially bring here. Ed touched on this. Everybody talks about the TikToks and the quarterback Corvette, but, take that out of the talk, out of the discussion. He's a very good receiver, a very good slot receiver specifically, and would be great here in DC. We don't have a slot. In my eyes, we don't have a slot receiver right now. I know Steven Sims technically is on the roster. I know Isaiah Wright. Yeah, I know Isaiah Wright's technically on the roster, but like Rico just said, he has definitely regressed, and we need a slot receiver very bad. We need another good blocking receiver as well. And on that point, Corey Davis would be a great guy as well. The next Washington Panther, potentially, we'll see. Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel would be a good pickup. Ed talked about that as well. Outside of receiver, I like Justin Simmons a lot. But like Rico said, We cannot tie up that much money in the secondary overall. We have Kendall Fuller locked up. We have for $10 million plus a year. We have Landon Collins as well. Just too many contracts. We need to really spread the money around.
Ronald Darby. Yeah.
Ronald Darby as well. That's a good point.
He's gonna get paid. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely think the money would be better served on spent on the offense and really maybe building, the defense with a linebacker pick or something like that in the draft would be the best play at this point. But outside of the needs and what we need to address, I ask this for everyone really who joins the channel every single week, and now having two of the biggest stars in the Washington football team YouTube community on the channel right now, I want to ask you guys this: what do you make of Washington's future? Do you think we'll be consistent playoff contenders, year in and year out in the near future? Do you think maybe a Super Bowl? I know, it's that hasn't really been talked about too much as a legit point, here in DC for a while, but maybe a Super Bowl in the near future. What are you guys' thoughts on it? Do you think we have it in us, to make a Super Bowl run soon?
Yeah, I mean, if Dan the man can stay on his yacht and not make draft picks, then
yeah,
the next couple of years. I mean, you got the national media now. Bucky Brooks said it last year. With Chase Young, you can host a parade in the next 2 to 3 years. And somebody else on ESPN was like, if Washington gets a quarterback, then we could be
Dominique Foxworth.
Yeah, Dominique Foxworth. I think he went to University of Maryland too, so he's from the area. So the national media is finally starting to give us our credit. So we got to get a quarterback. I mean, we keep saying it over and over and over again. It's easier said than done. It's so hard. It's so hard to find a quarterback. Defense is getting there. Front four is there. We just need one more linebacker. We need a couple things. Need a couple receivers. And then, just take over the NFC East first. Take care of that business first. I like the trajectory of the NFC. You look at the Eagles. They're going downhill. They have a coach that can't even have a press conference.
Terrible cap space.
Yeah, terrible.
What are they going to do with Wentz?
Mike McCarthy's like one of the worst coaches right now in the NFL. The Giants, they're getting better, but the Giants are probably, after us, the Giants are probably like the next best team in the NFC East, speaking right now. But yeah, we got to get that quarterback. We just have to. We keep stressing it over and over and over again. The quarterback might not be figured out this year, but they did say in the press conference, if it takes next year, then it will take next year. So I do think this is our best chance, though. Probably in the past, ever since we won the Super Bowl and back in 1990, probably the best it's looked.
Yeah.
Front office, coaches, everything since that time. So I do think in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, we actually do have a legit chance.
Let me ask you this, though, Ed, since you mentioned like quarterback and we need to get a quarterback. Would you, if Deshaun Watson was legit and played for Washington, would you put Chase Young or a Montez Sweat in the trade package for him? I know that's been talked about all over. Yeah, it's hot take.
I can't, and the reason why is, of course, the C-word culture. I know Deshaun would bring a whole different culture because he's a quarterback. He would bring wins. But like people keep saying, if we lose Chase Young and all those picks, then we essentially could become what the Texans are, where they're 4-12 because they don't have guys on defense. We lose a guy like a Chase Young. We lose our first-round picks for the next 3 years. That's a lot of holes that we just created for our team. Now, Deshaun can't save everything. He would probably get us, like, if we lost Chase Young and he comes here in the NFC East, we'd probably get at least 7 to 8 wins. But that's just not a Super Bowl team. And then the next year, his contract does kick in. This year, I think it's supposed to be like affordable in 2021, but the contract next year. And then now it's like cap space is done and all that. So I just can't give up Chase Young. We just got to roll with the punches. We might have to roll with Heineke. Heineke this year, but I'd rather do that than give up Chase Young and 3 or 4 first rounders. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people think differently. But I would keep Chase Young personally.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, because we have to remember Deshaun Watson won 4 games last year. Top 5 quarterback, great and all, but if the team around him, it's a team sport. I know quarterback is the most important position in football and probably just in sports in general, but he can't do it by himself, as we've seen by him only winning 4 games last season. So yeah, you can't give away a Chase Young. You just can't. And then, like Ed Oliver said, he's only like $15 million, I believe, this next year. I think he's 30 million a year after that, and then every other year he's in the 40s. And then like it's just you're in cap space doldrums after that. You better have a really good team already around them because it's going to be hard to bring in guys. But I mean, there's also another side to the argument where you get a Deshaun Watson. Maybe guys like Allen Robinson would be willing to take less money because it's like a far better chance of winning a Super Bowl than other teams. Maybe they'll be willing to take a more team friendly deal, take a discount at a chance for winning a Super Bowl. But still, giving up Chase Young is just ridiculous. Because also, like Oliver started to explain, he's the spirit of the team. He's the Brian Dawkins. He's the Ray Lewis. It's not just the talent. It's what he also brings on the sideline, in the locker room, in meetings. He says all of the right things in press conferences. Like, he's literally like your face of your franchise. And to sell that away, I mean, of course we would get another one, like Ed said, with Deshaun Watson. But I would love to have both. And I'd be willing to take my chances at a guy in a draft that could potentially be that along with Chase Young, rather than guaranteed giving away Chase Young and just getting Deshaun Watson in return.
And what about the future of the team? Do you think, like I asked Ed earlier, do you think Super Bowl potentially in the future?
Yeah. I've always been one of those more optimistic guys. I mean, even when we were like 1-6 or something, I kept telling people like our team is not that bad. It's just chemistry issues. Everybody's new offensive coordinator, new head coach, new defensive coordinator. We didn't have an offseason to gel. I mean, even little things like Cornelius Lucas should have been starting over Jerron Christian. If we had a full offseason, we probably would have known that by week 1, rather than having to figure it out after Jerron Christian got hurt. So it was just a lot of little things. Jack Del Rio didn't know how to use his talent exactly, like where to put people. We've seen that sometimes those 5 defensive linemen formations that we run sometimes are highly effective. So now he knows that as far as going into the future. But if we had an off season, he would have known that earlier in the season. We could have used that more, probably won a few more games just because of little details like that. So I feel like our team has always been talented. Even in the Jay Gruden eras, our coaching staff just didn't get the most out of guys. And it seems like our coaching staff is finally getting the most out of guys. Like Cameron Curl, I feel like even if Jay Gruden's regime drafted Cameron Curl, he probably wouldn't be this good. I feel like that's the Jack Del Rio and the Ron Rivera effect, to be able to see the talent in a guy like that and to be able to nurture it and develop it so quickly. So I feel like this is just our trajectory, like Ed said, is just definitely in a positive direction because we can now develop our guys. I'm assuming we're going to probably draft well. I think free agency was actually led by Ron Rivera this last one, where we didn't go for big guys, but we made a lot of smart signings. We Ronald Darby, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, yes, Cornelius Lucas, a lot of impact starter players that probably played Pro Bowl level just weren't voted in. For very cheap long-term Wes Schweitzer, he was a backup on the Falcons, and the Falcons' offensive line isn't even that good. So the fact that they evaluated him and knew like we could turn this guy into a starting level guard, I feel like that's what we now have that we didn't have before. We've always had the talent. Our coaches just didn't know how to use them. And I feel like we now, that's what's going to take us to the next step. We get quarterback right, I see Super Bowls in the future, honestly.
Speaking of guards, you guys think we should re-sign Brandon Sheriff?
100%. I mean, last time we had an All-Pro was in 1996, and it was a punter. I mean, gotta keep watching guys who are All-Pro. We just rarely have them. And I know the money's going to be tight, but it's deservedly so. And he actually played. Did he play 14 games? It's probably the most games he's played in a little while. So he was healthy this year. I got to give him credit for that. Pro Bowler once again, All Pro. I mean, and we drafted him. So
yeah,
and
too.
You got to.
He said repeatedly that he wants to come back. He loves Ron Rivera.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your own guys.
Much agreed.
Yeah.
I would love to re-sign Brandon Sheriff. He's going to demand at least $15 million a year. That's fine with me. I feel like if Sadiq Charles is as good as I hope he is, and then Wes Schweitzer is arguably the best backup guard in the league, then I'm not worried about Brandon Sheriff's health, because we've seen that Wes Schweitzer can fill in at right guard very well. And I feel like that's our backup plan. And I think that's first of all, that's one of the main strategies that Ron Rivera has in free agency. Build your depth and worry about the rest later. I feel like we have good depth across the board. We're only going to get deeper in certain positions like tight end after this offseason. So I think you give Brandon Sheriff the money he wants. And, when in doubt for the games that he's due to miss, it seems like every season, you have Wes Schweitzer as your backup.
Yeah, agreed. I think, like Ed said, like he's an all-pro. You cannot let an all-pro go after not having one for so many years. It just cannot happen. We have money to spend, I know we don't have like enormous money to spend, but we have enough, to go after and re-sign Brandon Sheriff. We need to, man. Our offensive line was actually, pretty middle of the pack if you look at the totality of the season. And a big part of that was Brandon Sheriff. When he was out for those couple of games towards the beginning of the season, offensive line was shredded. I mean, I know you guys know this. You guys watched the games. Like, I don't know how many sacks we gave up. And we just gave up consistent pressure, and you just cannot have that no matter who's at the quarterback position. So I definitely agree with you guys. Brandon Sheriff should be re-signed here, and I think he will ultimately be re-signed. I will say though, on the future question, I am also confident like you guys. I think Washington is going to be very good and very short order. Obviously, it's the quarterback position. I mean, that's the biggest question mark. We need to get that resolved. But I mean, I think even if we get a guy like a Derek Carr or someone like that, or maybe even draft someone like a Justin Fields, Trey Lance. I mean, I think we could do some really good things as soon as next year. I really believe that. We need some more weapons on offense too. We need a receiver. We need some tight end depth, like Pedro mentioned earlier. We need some playmakers at the linebacker position, right? John Bostic. I know we haven't mentioned him on the channel tonight, but for a reason, John Bostic is not starting linebacker for next year. At least we hope he's not. He's good as a backup. I know Corey from On the Warpath knows how I feel about that, but I think the sky's the limit for us. And, it all depends on that guy up top, right? That guy, Dan Snyder. That's what that's how Ed started off his comments, right? Hoping that, he stays in his yacht, does not make any more draft picks. But I think with that being said, the final question is, Ed said if, right? Do you think Dan Snyder will, get out of the way and will allow this organization to get right? Do you think Ron Rivera will have enough leeway to make whatever moves he wants? You think Jason Wright will have enough leeway to make whatever moves he wants in the front office and building the team off the field and really building a solid brand that all of us can embrace year in, year out? Do you think he will?
It's tough. It is tough to say. I think he finally will. And all this, the Washington Post stuff and all the articles, I think he knows that he has to lay low and just stay out of stuff right now. I am hearing that Beth Wilkerson is almost done with the investigation, so I'm really hoping that they don't take away any picks. If they do take a pick, hopefully it's like a 5th rounder or something like that. Nothing like top 3 or something like that. But I think he's finally learned his lesson. The whole Bruce thing and Jay Gruden, the whole stories coming out, and then the Washington Post article. I think it took all that drastic stuff for him to finally step back, and he's letting Ron do his thing. And the press conference told it too. I mean, Ron's making the final decisions, this coach-centric stuff. And I think this draft will tell too. I think this offseason will tell too. He didn't force them to make any big splashes in the offseason. Like Rico said, all the free agency moves were low-key guys like J.D. McKissick, Ronald Darby, Logan Thomas. Like who really knew who Logan Thomas was before with the Lions and the Bills? And, he was a quarterback. Like nobody was looking for Logan Thomas in free agency other than Ron Rivera. Same thing with J.D. McKissick. So, I mean, we would have been signing big name guys, but you can tell it was a Ron Rivera-led free agency, a Ron Rivera-led draft this year, and him getting rid of guys, even like Kyle Smith. I know we wanted to keep Kyle Smith, but him making moves like that just shows that he's just Ron's in control right now. So I think Dan the man finally learned his lesson. He's going to stay on the yacht, just chill. He's probably out of the country right now, chilling. So just stay over there and just let Ron do everything.
You just occasionally ask, how much money do you need, and just leave it at that. Dan Snyder, just how much money this time, Ron Rivera? Okay, cool, go ahead and use it. But yeah, I do believe it's Ron Rivera's team. I mean, the fact that he was able to bench Haskins after 4 games is like, I mean, that was a big ego strike to Dan Snyder. If anything, that was literally Dan Snyder's guy. I think his son is like really close friends with Haskins and went to high school with him. I mean, that was as attached as a quarterback as an owner could get. And the fact that Ron Rivera was allowed to have the power to bench him that soon too, it's definitely Ron Rivera's show. I mean, I agree with everything Ed Oliver said as far as like the hirings, the drafts, the free agencies. They've all been Rivera led, and even Jason Wright, like you started to talk about. He has a lot of control too, because he just elevated Doug Williams to basically be his right-hand man. Like he just basically went and got him himself. Like, this is my guy that's going to help me with everything I need to do as far as running this team from the president's side. Now, I mean, a small tangent. It seems like Doug Williams gets a new title every year. Like, all right, sir, we need this office right now from you.
He's demoted this time.
Yeah, I mean, but it just seems like they move him from, all right, we need this office for something else. Can you move here? We'll give you a new name and you'll do this from now on. I feel like he finally actually has a title that really matters, and he's going to be Jason Wright's right-hand man and actually have a real impact on this team finally. And it just goes to show that it's not just only Ron Rivera that has full control of the football side. Jason Wright also has a good amount of control on the business side.
Yeah, I mean, agreed with you guys wholeheartedly. I mean, if not now, when, right? When will Dan Snyder get it right? I think, he's hired all the right people. He's done the right things over the last year. But I think what Rico said before he, reached his last point was it for Ron Rivera to bench Haskins within 4 games and cut him within less than a year. I mean, I think that tells you all you need to know about the power structure in DC and how much power Ron Rivera has specifically. And I think he'll turn it around. I really believe that, and it will be fun to see some. It's always fun to see content from you guys, but to see content when we're winning consistently, hopefully, I cannot wait, man. Hopefully, we see like a Super Bowl reaction from you guys and like a breakdown one day.
We have to get together and live stream that like together as like
dude.
A big reaction.
Oh my gosh, yes. But wow, I can see it, man.
We gotta have a Haskins type party.
I mean, unless it happens this season, right? And COVID's not under control yet, but
right.
Hopefully we win one, man. It's about time, right? Bring it all the way around to LeBron James, right? It's about time we win one. We win one ultimately. But with that being said, I do see, the comment about Sam Darnold. Just quick, I think, maybe, Sam Darnold could be that next Ryan Tannehill, although I really don't see what people see in him in terms of NFL circles. He hasn't put up great stats. I know he doesn't have the weapons, but I just don't see it. I don't know if you guys have any last second things to add before we wrap up about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's Mr. Seeing Ghosts. We all remember that quote in the game. But
he's saying it out loud.
I personally, I didn't really watch. I'll be honest. I didn't. I mean, who really wanted to watch the Jets? They were the worst team in the league. They can't even tank right. They won games that they shouldn't even won. They would have had Trevor Lawrence, and now they're gonna have to end up with. I mean, Justin Fields isn't bad if they get him or Zach Wilson, but they're just stupid. They could have had Trevor Lawrence. And I just didn't really watch enough of Sam, but I know I watched the game where he kicked our butts last year. It was like 38-14, and then he had some good games. He had mono. He came back, and then this year was just bad. Like, it was really bad this year, and you could blame Adam Gase for that. So it's a question mark. But do you really want to give up anything higher than a 3rd or a 4th for Sam? Because Sam threw 9 touchdowns, 11 picks, so that's really bad. Last thing we want is somebody who's turning the ball over, because we're a team that relies on our defense. We don't want to hurt ourselves. If Sam is turning the ball over, then why would we trade any picks for him? Like, I wouldn't make that move. In my opinion, I wouldn't trade for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just too many question marks. You don't know to what extent is Sam Darnold's fault, to what extent is Adam Gase's fault, to what extent is the rest of the roster, because it wasn't a good roster's fault, just like Ed said. And I'm not willing to give up picks for that. It'd be different if he was a free agent and you could sign him to like a cheap deal, but to give up draft picks, especially with how well we've used them the past few years. I mean, I always look at like when we're giving a 3rd away for somebody, that could potentially be a Terry McLaurin or Antonio Gibson. That's how I look at it. If we're giving away a 5th, that could potentially be a Tim Settle or Cole Holcomb, or 7th even for. I mean, of course, that's like the most optimistic way of looking at it, but it's a reality. If we would have given away one of our 7ths last season, we wouldn't have Cameron Curl. You just never know. So for somebody that's that mysterious, I prefer to take the draft. I'll take the draft pick guy, especially the guys that are more mobile. And then even coming out of college, I wasn't very high on Sam Darnold. For the many reasons that he's still like hasn't been a great quarterback yet. He has potential. He does a lot of things right, but he's turnover prone and not a great decision maker and things like that. So and it just seems to be that's what's happening at the NFL level from the very few games I've watched some of them from him. So yeah, I'm good. For the mystery, no thanks.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, not much more to add. We don't, get him for like a late round pick or something, which we'll probably not happen because he is still, a quarterback in the NFL. And I think we have some other options that we can look at. I know Ron Rivera knows that as well. But with that being said, one last shout out to all the people in the chat: James Jones, Big Simple, Protech, Arthur, everyone, Jamon. I see Asan Moore as well, Yak Dog 24, AM Hunter, Jefferson, Luza. Thank you guys all for joining, man. Thank you to Rico and to Ed for joining. I know you guys are all super busy with the content you make, and also, let's be real, your lives as well outside of it. And appreciate the time that you guys spent on the channel. Always do. And everybody, go check out their channels. Already put their channels in the description if you haven't already subscribed. But make sure you guys do that, and maybe also subscribe to this one as well. Just a little thing at the end. But thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great rest of your night. And see you on the next one.
Man, thanks for having me, man.